Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show
on 5 Live.
Tuffers and Vaughan with me, Mark Chapman, Phil Wibbers, Paul Farbrace in for Michael this evening. What a day, what a test match. First of all, a day to revel and marvel in test cricket, Phil, whatever side of the fence you are on when it comes to supporting India or England.
It was an amazing day. I mean, just amazing. You know, I turned up there this morning thinking that we were looking good. You know, we were looking good. We were a wicket away from, you know, getting into that Indian tail, which is, I know, Jasprit Bumrah, you know, averaging, I think even I average more than Jasprit Bumrah. I think I average twice as much as him, you know, and you know, we got Rishabh Pant out early on and things were looking good. I don't actually think I've seen a bigger turnaround in Test match cricket in the space of a couple of sessions. It was an amazing day. It was an enthralling day. There was a great crowd for a fifth day at Lord's, and they enjoyed every single minute of it, as did I. But, you know, I've just got myself back home, and I'm trying to sort of, you know, think about the day and what have you. And it was just, you know, it was just sensational cricket. It was brilliant. Every single ball had something on it. It was wonderful to see, but, you know, a disappointing day for England. I think Joe Root, I heard the interview after with him, was very honest about things. He said he got a few things wrong and what have you, but we can't keep getting rolled over in 50 overs. It's as simple as that.
We'll play the Joe Root interview very shortly, but you know, Paul, you've been in this game a long time, and the psychology of sport always fascinates me. The mental side of sport always fascinates me, whatever the sport, and that really, that whole day today was all down to mentality and psychology. Well, I mean, there was great skill as well, but the whole swing felt like it was a mental swing.
100% agree. And in the end, it came down to, you know, the Indians actually knowing how to win, expecting to win. I think that was the biggest thing that you saw out of today. You know, England went into it, like Tuffers just said, I expect England to win. I thought England were going to turn up, win the game. After an hour, I still thought England were going to win the game. And then the longer the day went, the more the Indians believed. And the Indians were the only team who were going to win that game in the end. And it came down to just sheer belief that they expected to win the game.
Basically, what happened...
Sorry, can I just say something here, though? How many times have we seen tail-enders come in? We got the vital Ricket Pant, didn't we? You know, and everything was right, great, okay. So what we do, you know, the tactics have to be brought into question here.
Well, I tell you what, Phil. Should we hear from Joe Root? Joe Root?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the tactics of that. Really, that hour between 11:30 and 12:30, where the wheels just came off spectacularly. Bumrah and Shami put on 89 for the ninth wicket. It took India to 298 for 8 when they declared. So before we get to that tactical side of things with both Phil and Paul, let's hear from Joe Root.
Yeah, it was a disappointing day. I think to get Rishabh early as we did, I thought it was exceptional. First hour of play, we were brilliant again, and felt like we were in a really strong position to go on and win this Test match. And as I just mentioned there, I think tactically I got a few things wrong, and you know, a lot falls on my shoulders in that respect, because the game could have looked very different at lunchtime if I'd managed things slightly differently. So no, I'll learn from that experience and make sure that if in similar scenario later on in this series we deal with it better.
Well, that's very honest of you. What particularly? I mean, the sort of the early field settings for those two.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be quite difficult because they score in quite unusual areas. Now you're trying to manage containing the game and holding the rate with being, you know, finding ways of taking wickets, and probably got that slightly wrong.
Okay. Your innings, however, again, I mean, it's looking in such great form yourself. That's no great consolation now, I guess. But you know, you're batting so well. Yeah,
I feel in good touch. I feel like I'm playing well. I feel like I've got a good understanding of how I want to score my runs. And you know, you just got to go in every opportunity you get out there to bat. You've got to have that mindset. You've earned nothing, but when you face up to that first ball, then you know, you've got to try and get as many as you can for your team.
It's pretty spiky out there, Joe. A bit of verbal jousting going on, more than perhaps you might normally see. What was going on there?
I mean, it's hard to... much to do about nothing. If you ask me personally, it's Test cricket. It's Test cricket. You expect passion out there on the field. It's probably over dramatised slightly at times. It's part and parcel of what you do when you play, and hopefully it never gets out of hand, and we can make sure that cricket's the focus and the talking point, really.
Yeah, and you're going to make sure that hopefully things might calm down a bit for the next one.
We'll see. It's something that it shouldn't be, what people focus on. It should be on the actual cricket. So.
Right. So last one on the cricket then. You've got a few days now to think about things, changes and so on. Is all that going to be going into the mix?
We've got time. Take a lot of good positive things that's happened throughout especially the first 4 days, and make sure that we're ready to play what is still a lot of cricket left in this series. Like I said, we've found ourselves in this scenario before and come out and won the series. Certainly be the way we approach the rest of this one.
They're a good side.
They are a good side, yeah. There's a reason why they got to the Test Championship final, and they've got some fantastic players. But as I say, we found ourselves at a point where we should have gone on and won this game. So it's not that we can't, compete with them. We've shown that we can, and we need to remember that and just do that for longer.
So that was Joe Root talking to Jonathan Agnew. Right, Phil, back to your question.
Yeah. Well, no, sorry, I've just been a little bit silly here, but if Joe Root goes up to Headingley's the next Test match, isn't it? And he's going to toss the coin and win the toss, and the bloke on the announcement will go, England have won the toss and Joe Root has decided to have a bat. Just Joe Root. Come on. I mean, it was just, if you can't get any runs, techniques and everything, pressure and everything, we all know this comes into it. And listen, they had a mare that first innings, that first session, it was chaos, it was carnage out there. But, these things kind of sometimes happen and what have you. But, you put your technique and you put your ability to score runs under scrutiny in the first innings, and if you can't do it in the first innings when the pressure comes on in the second innings, how are you expected to then do it? And that's what's happening to England. We can go on about bowling at the top of off stump and why did we have all these fielders out the way and everything, but at the end of the day it happened, and then you say to your batsman and the team, right, okay, get us out this hole, and England just keep failing at it. It's as simple as that. I have never walked out to bat, which I was thinking about, with someone bowling at 94 miles an hour. Now, we're just going back to the first session where the wheels started to come off. I've never gone out of bat and faced someone bowling 94 miles an hour and looked behind me and not seen any slips.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. They had more people on the boundary to Bumrah and Shami than they did to Pant. I mean, it was just, and then it just unravelled from there. Farbs, help me out here.
Look, really interestingly, I mean, well, they certainly always had plenty of slips when you went into that, didn't they? I mean, that was your story there.
I averaged more than Bumrah.
You certainly did, but third man was your area. You mastered that. You mastered that area. But look, I actually think that there's a lot more in what Rooty was saying there about the team. I think it shows, not only is he scoring the vast majority of the runs and taking that on his shoulders, he's also taking
it's about 70%, Farbs. I think it's about 70% of the runs.
I think in this year it's the highest ever. It's gone past Bradman's stat. I mean, it's an extraordinary stat. But I think the other thing that's really important here, and it's easy to just gloss over this, is he's actually taking the pressure off his bowlers as well. Because there's enough in those bowlers there to say, hang on a minute, the ball's still nipping around here. We've got a new ball that's not that old. We should be looking to hit the top of our stump. Let's get our slips in it. And I think Rooty's taking the pressure not only off these batters, because he's constantly talking about we're sharing the runs out, all that sort of stuff, and he's trying to be positive, but he's also taken a lot of heat off his bowlers there, because those bowlers should have been saying, actually, no, hang on, I want to keep my men in, I want to have catches. That's the only way we're going to get them out. And how often do we see it that bowlers slip into that horrible routine of trying to force wickets? They bowl brilliantly to get 7 and 8 wickets out. You hit the top of off stump, slips in the game, the pads are in the game, the stumps are in the game. We took the stumps out of the game, and the only way we were going to get them out was a top edge, a fly edge, and we had people all over the place. But the bowlers have to take responsibility for that. It's not just down to Rooty.
But no. So are the bowlers there the dominant partner in the tactics more than the captain?
Well, they've got the ball in their hand.
The coach?
They have the ball in their hand. The bowler should be saying, this is how I'm going to get the bloke out. The bowler shouldn't be looking to Rooty and say, where do you want me to try and get him out? They, regardless of their experience, they are people that are used to getting wickets. Why are they in the team? Because they're used to getting wickets. They know how to get wickets. And let's be fair, up until about 10 to 12, they have got it really well. They've done exceptionally well. They bowled the ball in the right place. And they just completely went away from doing what they do well and doing the basics well.
I've never sorry, Chappers. Sorry. Sorry.
Go on.
I just have to say, England had fought and scrapped so well.
Absolutely.
They were fantastic for 4 days.
Yeah.
And then when they got panned out, they were even more fantastic. They'd got themselves into a position which, listen, to be fair, I don't necessarily think they deserved to get into, but they'd scrapped and fought for every run and bowled wonderfully well. They got themselves into this wonderful position, and then I just don't know what happened. It unravelled in front of my eyes.
Yeah, 100%.
Just explain to us then, Paul, if you'd have been sitting on the balcony at Lord's today,
he would have been going mad. He would have been going mad.
Yeah,
his head would have been...
in a coaching capacity. What would you have done? What could you have done during that hour of madness? Because I think that's what a lot of fans will be wondering.
I probably would be in the physio room kicking every box and dustbin that I could find, to be fair. Look, it's tough, isn't it? Because, look, I think for the previous 3 days, England dominated that game. First day, India played really well. 3 down at the end of the first day. England fought back. Day 2, sensational. To middle of the afternoon, bowled them out. Right back in the game. They got themselves a lead. Now, they probably should have got a few more, but they got themselves a lead. They put India under enormous pressure to start their second innings. And the only team winning that game, turning up at Lord's today, was England. That's the only team. And as I say, even up to 10 to 12, England was still very much in the box seat and dominating that game and had played really well for 3 days. Now, what you can't do as a coach in that situation is be sending messages on. It's not under 13s cricket, so you're not going to be sending messages on. As much as when I was with the Sri Lankans, I used to see the team manager, the physio, the doctor, they all sent messages on. It was unbelievable. But with the England team, you're not sending messages on. You're relying on senior players on the field. If the captain, has 10 minutes where he's not quite got it right, one of the senior players on the field has got to say, hey, come on, we need to just settle this down here. We need to go back to bowling a line and length. This is how we've got our wickets. And it just quite clearly didn't happen. And England went into lunch having absolutely thrown away such a brilliant position that they fought so hard for.
Far be. You could have been like the South African rugby coach. You could have been the water boy running on with your bib on.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that I've actually been tempted to do that a few times. And the lads would have seen that as well. But look, they had got themselves into such a good position. And it probably shows that this England team at the moment have perhaps lost, that real... That when you get into good places as a team, you win from unexpected places. You expect to win all the time. And at the moment, this England team don't quite look like they know how to win. They've forgotten how to win. They are fragile. They are definitely fragile. You've got a lot of players playing who we're constantly talking about. Should they be in the team? Will they be in the next game? And that worries me. When I see batsmen in the outfield, as I did during this game, shaping up to bat and thinking about batting, that always sends danger signs through my head, I have to say.
Let's take nothing away here from India, though. Let's take nothing away from India. They were absolutely ruthless. And when you have a situation where a tail does that to a side, we all kind of knew that it was going to be really, really tough. And to be fair, they just didn't stand up. I mean, it's a one-man team with the bat at the moment. We've papered over the cracks for a while. Things happen when you're trying to get tailenders out. Okay, so you can discuss that and move on from that. But come on, Joe Root, he's got broad shoulders, but he ain't got that broader shoulders. He keeps walking to the wicket. At 10 for 2. How many the noughts we're getting is just unbelievable.
10 ducks, Phil, for England openers in 2021. So 5 for Burns.
It's a record,
4 for Sibley, 1 for Crawley. 37% of Sibley and Burns' test partnerships haven't made it past the second over.
Well, how many? What percentage?
37%.
37. I mean, you're just in that England dressing room, and you're on your edge of your seat. I mean, something has to be done. I don't know what it is.
But it wasn't that long ago though that this team actually had got themselves into a good position. That South African series 2 winters ago. Let's be fair, we're talking about the same players, and one of the reasons that we all talked about afterwards was that Ruti wasn't getting into the 30th over. You know, Stokesy and Butler weren't getting into the 60th, 70th over. And England dominated that series away from home with the same players playing brilliantly. And you can see that there is a lack of confidence. And look, let's be honest, you know, it's really easy to sit and talk about this game. That this hasn't been, you know, just in the last couple of series. You know, even back to my time of sitting out in that England dressing room, there was a lot of times, and too often we were 31 for 3. And I've actually said to a few people, we didn't plan it. We didn't sit there and say, I tell you what, let's be 30 for 3 and see if we can dig ourselves out of a hole.
Well, no,
you know, it happens. It does happen, and that's the game. And again, you've got to go back to say, you know, the Indians today, once they got that lead and they felt that momentum swing, they absolutely were all over England in the field, weren't they? You know, apart from one drop catch that you wouldn't expect Virat to drop, they were magnificent. Their bowlers were sensational, and you've got to say the way they forced that win, and it really looked like a team who expected to win, didn't they?
Okay then, so Farb, so you sit there, no one wants to be 30 for 3, we understand that, but you must admit that it's happening pretty regularly now, isn't it? And so what do we do about it?
Well, the easy thing is to say, right, we change the team and we bring new players in. But there aren't too many players out there in county cricket who have either put their hand up to say, you know, I should be in that side to play. We haven't got too much at the moment in terms of opportunity to look at players playing red ball cricket because we haven't played now for quite some time. That's really tough, you know. And you would like to think that one or two of these guys now in the England team would have come out, played a week's county cricket, got some confidence, got some runs under their belt, and worked incredibly hard. Now, I can only talk about one player in that team, in Dom Sibley. I know how hard Dom Sibley has worked, not only to get himself into that England team, but at every opportunity, in every series he's played, he has come back to Warwickshire and worked so hard on his game. Yeah. He's worked very hard. He spends a lot of time practicing. Now, I having known Rory Burns during my time working, he will be doing exactly the same. You know, and we've made one change. Hamid has come in, and Crawley, unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, Crawley's unfortunate to miss out. And again, it wasn't that long ago, we were saying last summer, Crawley actually looks like the real deal. He looks like a high-quality international batter. And we're just not giving them, you know, at the moment, we're just not giving them the match practice, the games in between to actually come back to county cricket and get some runs. And it's really, really tough when you're in that slump.
We've all been there, Farms, and we understand this, and we're not just sharpening knives and swords and what have you and trying to do all this. So does Dom Sibley play the next Test match if you're captain of England?
Yes, I would pick him. Well, if I'm captain, I'm definitely picking him. I'd probably pick myself as well on that basis. But no, I would keep him in, and I think, you know, what as I say, we've seen that these blokes can play international cricket, and it's, you know, it's not just about their techniques, and there's so much time spent talking about techniques. The challenge I think that Chris Silverwood and Joe Root have is to talk to the players and find out where they're at mentally. If mentally they're seriously struggling, that's the time you've got to take your player out of the international arena. You know that, because that is, it's not about technique. It's not about how you bowl the ball, how you catch it, how you face up and back. It's about, can you cope with everything that international cricket throws at you? And if confidence-wise you're struggling, that's the time you take people out of the side. And only they will know that.
Okay, yes, okay then. But then what happens if your confidence is up, you're mentally right, and you keep getting naught?
That's a tough place to be, isn't it? I mean, that's a seriously tough place. And that's where, you know, you can only back someone for so long. You know, I go back to, you know, Stokes. Stokes in 2014, I think Stokes had 10 innings of under 10. I think he had about 7 noughts in 10 innings. And he went out of the side. And then he came back in the side for the New Zealand series in 2015. We batted him at 6. And he got 95 in the first innings, 100 in the second innings. And he came back in completely different. And again, it's about, and Chris Silver and Joe Root will be doing this. And Root has shown that today in his press that he's done after the game. he's taking pressure off people. Chris Silverwood, Graham Thorpe, Paul Collingwood in that dressing room, they will be trying to take pressure off people. They will be trying to remind the players why you're being picked to play for England in the first place, because you're a very good player. You've got the right capabilities to play this game. And as I say, we haven't got too many other options out there to say, actually, take him out, put him in, because we're not blessed with that.
I'm not sure at this stage, Paul. Well, I was going to say there are any other options, which might be very harsh, but it's not. It's not like, and I don't want to go down the whole scheduling debate because people have had that several times. No. But it's not like you can look elsewhere and go, oh, actually, yeah, he's banging form at the moment. Actually, he's really among the runs in red ball cricket. Let's bring him in and say, let's send Dom for argument's sake back to Warwickshire and let him get some runs. That's just not there, as we all know at the moment. So you sit there and think, well, where are you going to bring someone in from?
Absolutely, and we saw that. We saw that during one of Ed Smith's things was when we were struggling for openers, and let's be honest, we've been talking about struggling for openers since Andrew Strauss went out of the team. It was how are we going to replace Strauss, and then Cookie's gone now as well, and it's a bit like when
he got some runs for Essex.
he got 60 odd today, didn't he? So get him back, get Cookie back, get him back off the farm. But again, you look at they brought in Jason Roy, came in because Jason Roy had shown international cricket that he could play white ball cricket and maybe he could cope with the scrutiny of Test cricket. That experiment didn't work. But, there aren't too many options out there. And you look now, we've got this fantastic 100 tournament being played. Players, absolutely whacking it. To ask one of them, James Vince, whoever it might be, to come out of that and come back into the Test arena and have to score runs, that's a big ask at the moment. So there aren't too many options out there.
No, that's a bad beat today, though. That is a bad beat today, chappers. That is going to hurt. The other thing,
Phil, but you will know as well, trying to get them mentally right. And Paul talks about, whether it's Silverwood or Graham Thorpe or Collingwood or whoever, try to get them mentally right. But they must feel the crowd in many ways is expecting England to be 20 for 2, 20 for 3. Yeah. And that must, no matter how much you try and protect yourself, no matter how much the coaches try and improve your confidence and your mental state, that sense of dread, which is coming through from the crowd, must permeate through to the batsman. It must do.
Yeah, no one can hold your hand when you walk over that white line. It's as simple as that. So all the backroom staff can be the best in the world, best in the business, but at the end of the day, you've got to stick your own hand up and you've got to go out there and try and make a difference. It's as simple as that. We know it's a tough game, but this is what this is why it's called Test cricket, and this is why Test cricket's great. Listen, we all know these games happen and this happens and you all sit down there and you go, oh, crikey, and everything like that. But, at the end of the day, it is only a game. But everyone just wants, we're all sitting there as England fans and England supporters and we just want to, to try and make it better. But I don't know, sometimes you just got to go out there and think to yourself, come on, grab hold of it. You've got to grab hold of it yourself sometimes.
Paul, it sounded like you were going to come in.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. It is down to the players. And that's why I say you can't keep chopping and changing. You can't keep changing the personnel. You've got to stick with people. And I know people will be saying, but they've had so many chances. But, we have seen these guys all score runs. Hamid has come back in. He's had a tough first test. But we've got to stick with him. We've got to give him a good run of games now. We have to do that. And Tuffers is absolutely right. It is tough. Test cricket, it is tough. It doesn't matter. You can have the best coaches, you can have the best preparation, but it's about the guys that succeed at international cricket and play and have long careers are the blokes who, and it's tough, they fight through, they find a way. And it's not always about being pretty, it's about scoring ugly runs. The ugly runs really count when you're struggling. And it's the mental challenge of Test match cricket will determine whether you have a fantastic career or not, will determine whether you can fight back or not. And I think in Burns and Sibley, England have got two people who really have got the mental strength. But as I say, only Root and Silverwood in that dressing room, tomorrow when they wake up, they'll feel even worse than they do today. I guarantee. That they will stay in London tonight, they'll drive home tomorrow, and that journey home tomorrow will be horrible because you'll be waking up thinking, we should be going home having won a Test match. They should have won that Test match today. And they know that.
Yeah, thankfully, as Joe Root said there, they've got a bit of time. They've got a bit of time till the next one, because you do have to regroup after a beat like that. It'll be a couple of days.
Well,
go and chill out, but then you got to come back strong. And I fear for the next Test match, because India, after a win like that, and they're led. I mean, it was chirpy out there. It was full on stuff out there. Let me tell you. And I think that actually we got involved in a bit of a brawl to this afternoon. I think, the Bumrah over against Jimmy Anderson when he got hit on the head and what have you, it then carried forward it, and I think that India seized on that. We poked the bear a little bit, and I think that, it became like, my dad's bigger than your dad there, and they just lost the plot. They lost the plot there before with Bumrah and Shami, and the Indians came out on top, and fair play to them, but you've got to learn for it. They've got a bit of time to regroup, but I mean, crikey O'Reilly, this Test match series has just gone up a notch, let me tell you.
I have to say, Paul, I have really liked the on-field spats and the dynamics between the two sides. And there were obviously times where England looked like they were enjoying it themselves. I mean, even in the first Test at Trent Bridge, Joe Root had a smile on his face a lot of the time that he was batting and maybe getting some stick from the Indian bowlers. But maybe the gap between now and the next Test will do England good, because India are so pumped that you feel the momentum, if the next Test was starting, in the next couple of days, would just carry on for them.
100%. And momentum it's really interesting, because 2014, Trent Bridge, we drew the first Test. We lost at Lord's in a Test match that we were going to win, and we looked like winning. Moeen got out just before lunch, and then I think 5 or 6 some top edge hooks. And we ended up losing the game. We were 1-0 down. We then went to Southampton. Cookie got 95, Belly got 160. Joss Buttler made his Test match debut. Moeen bowled them out, got 6 for second innings. And we went from there to Manchester, beat India in Manchester, came to the Oval with the chance of them getting back in the series. We won the toss and stuck them in because we wanted to keep the momentum going when we should have batted. We got a run out and a wicket early on, and we went on to win the series 3-1. So you're absolutely right on that point, because if you do play back-to-back, the momentum that you carry from one game to the other when you're up absolutely runs with you. And in that series, it was a great example of that.
So how do we turn that around for the next Test match then, Farbs? What are you saying to those players now who are down in the dumps? They are down in the dumps. They're going, what the hell just happened there? How do you, if there are no changes, there's no fresh faces or anything like that, how do you, or what is your process then to rebuild these guys for Headingley?
Well, the first thing you do is you give them a couple of days away to give themselves a bit of fresh air, a bit of space. Forget it. There would have been a bit of chat tonight, but tonight wasn't the time to have that conversation. You have a few days away, and I'm sure Spoons and Rooty will be ringing round the lads over the next few days, having a chat with them, talking to them, remind them what they're good at, remind them to watch footage of when you played well, when you played those bowlers, how you played them, what your plans are, and be really clear so when you come back for the next Test at Leeds, you're really clear. This is what I'm good at. This is what my strengths are. This is what we do well as a team. And, Spoons has talked a lot about scoring runs first innings. And you said it earlier, runs in the first innings, you're in the game. If you don't get your runs in the first innings, you're always chasing the game. Don't be surprised you end up losing it. And I think what England will be saying, when they really analyse this in a couple of days' time, they'll be saying, actually, the first day they didn't really get away from us. We only took 3 wickets. Days 2, 3 and 4, we were right in that game. And we were dominating that game. We turned up on day 5 expecting to win. And Rooty said there, it's not that we can't compete with India. We can compete. What we've got to do is make sure that when we have those really tough periods, we keep hold of them and we don't let India back in. And we had an opportunity today to put India under the pump and actually finish them off, win the game, go 1 up. And we let them back in. And it's about saying to these lads, we can do it, we can win. And let's remember, we did that with quite a few of our batters not contributing in that game. If we get more of a contribution from our batters, there's nothing to stop us winning the next game and going on to win the series. And that will be the message from Chris Silverwood. I'm
not sure whether this would be possible for any of them, but bearing in mind we're talking about the mental side of it in particular, would you release any of them for if there were final 100 games available for them to play in, just to put a smile on their face?
Definitely, absolutely, I would. I
mean, people go, "Oh, different formats of this," but if we're just talking about, go on, whack it and see if you can have a bit of fun. Well, I don't know whether that would work.
You're going to put Dom
Very
Sibley in the Phoenix?
No, I realise it doesn't necessarily work with certain of them. But I meant those that it would work, whether that might. You never know, fam. I wasn't suggesting that one.
Sorry, I'm being supercilious. Sorry, chap.
I definitely would. I absolutely would. And I think, Moeen Ali has shown that there's a bloke who's been playing in the 100, been playing brilliantly, and he's taken that confidence into this game.
Love Test cricket. I love Test cricket.
Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show
on 5 Live.